I was sitting in a hospital chair next to my 9-year-old son when I opened my phone and saw it. 8 blue ticks. Every single person in my family had read my message. Not one of them replied. My son had a bandage on his head. There was dried blood on my shirt, and somewhere across Brisbane, my sister Courtney was posting birthday party videos on Instagram. My name is Elizabeth Clark, and this is the story of how my family showed me exactly who they were and how I finally believed them. I have lived in Brisbane my whole life. Grew up in Callumvale, went to school there, watched my parents Ryan and Kelly build a life there. When I had Jayden on my own at 26, I stayed close. Not because it was easy, but because family was supposed to mean something. I worked in accounts payable for a logistics company in Rocklia, a stable job, nothing fancy. I rented a small house in Sunnybank with a backyard big enough for Jayden to kick a ball around. We had a routine: school, work, dinner, homework, bed. On weekends, we went to Karawatha Forest or the local markets. It was quiet. It was enough. I was the one in the family who sorted things out. Someone needed a form filled, they called me. Someone needed a vendor contacted or a booking confirmed, they called me. My sister Courtney planned big events, and I was always the one behind the scenes making sure nothing fell apart. I never complained. I thought that was just what you did for people you loved. I was wrong about a lot of things back then. The accident. It was a Wednesday. I picked Jayden up from school at 3:15 like always. He was telling me about a fight that broke out during lunch. Something about a handball and someone named Tyler, and I was half listening and half watching the lights on Mains Road. Then a car ran a red light and hit us from the left side. The sound was wrong. That is the only way I can describe it. Not loud exactly, just wrong. Glass, then stillness, then Jayden's voice saying "Mom," and I turned to look at him before I even checked myself. He was bleeding from a small cut above his eyebrow. His eyes were open and confused, but he was talking. A man from the footpath was already at my window. A woman had called 000. Within minutes, there were sirens. At the PA hospital, they assessed Jayden for 2 hours. Mild concussion, bruising on his left arm, a small laceration that needed 2 stitches above the brow. The doctor used the word lucky 3 times. I counted. I sat in the plastic chair beside his bed, and I let myself breathe for the first time since the impact. Then I picked up my phone. I opened the family group chat. Ryan, Kelly, Courtney, her husband Alexander, my cousins Juliana and Crystal, 8 people who had known me my entire life. I typed, "We're at the PA hospital. Jayden and I were in a car accident this afternoon. Concussion and stitches, but we're okay. It was really scary. Could use some support." I watched the ticks go blue, 1 contact at a time. All 8. Within 40 minutes, every single person had read it. I put the phone down and watched the door. An hour passed, then 2. Around 9 that night, I opened Instagram because I could not sleep and I did not know what else to do with my hands. Courtney had posted 4 videos. Sienna's 11th birthday party, a hired venue in Garden City, fairy lights across the ceiling, a dessert table with a custom cake, a kid's DJ in the corner. In the background of the 3rd video, I could clearly see my parents. My dad, Ryan, had his arm around my mom, Kelly. They were laughing, dressed nicely, relaxed. I watched the videos twice. Then I put the phone face down and did not touch it again until morning. Jayden stopped asking. Jayden woke up 3 times in the night. The first 2 times, he looked straight at the door before he looked at me. "Did anyone come?" I asked. "Not yet," I said. The 3rd time he woke up, he looked at me first. He did not ask about the door. I don't know if he made a decision in that moment or if he just got tired of hoping, but something in his face had shifted, and watching my 9-year-old adjust to that quietly, without crying, without making a scene, was the moment something in me went very still. They read my message on Wednesday night. By Friday morning, my phone had 48 missed calls. Not to check on us, they needed something. If you want to know what they asked me to do while my son was still in a hospital bed, 48 missed calls. I counted them standing in the hospital hallway on Friday morning, still in the same clothes I had worn on Wednesday. Not one of those calls came on Wednesday night. Not one came Thursday morning. They all came in a 2-hour window on Friday, back to back, like an alarm nobody could shut off. My dad, Ryan's name was at the top of the list, and when I called him back, the first words out of his mouth were not, "How is Jayden?" Friday started quietly. Jayden had a better night. The headache was easing, and he managed to eat a full breakfast. A hospital liaison officer named Mason Jenkins came by in the morning to check on the insurance paperwork from the accident. He was straightforward, clear, no fuss. He made sure I understood every form before I signed anything. At one point, he looked around the room and asked if I had someone helping me manage all of this. I said I was handling it. He nodded and left his card anyway. That small gesture sat with me longer than it should have. Around 10 in the morning, my phone lit up. Courtney, then Ryan, then Kelly, then 2 numbers I did not recognize, then Ryan again, then a cousin, then Crystal, then Juliana, then Ryan 3 more times in a row. 48 calls across 2 hours. I stood at the window watching Jayden sleep, and I let it ring. When it finally stopped, a message came through from Ryan. "Answer your phone. We need you." Not, "How is Jayden?" Not, "Are you okay?" "We need you." I read it twice. Then I walked into the hallway and called him back. The phone call. He answered before the second ring. "Where have you been?" he said. No hello, no nothing. "In the hospital," I said, like I told everyone. A pause. Short, but I noticed it. "Yes, well, we saw that. We assumed it wasn't serious since you didn't follow up." I leaned against the wall. We assumed it wasn't serious. Jayden had 2 stitches above his eye and had been woken every 2 hours through the night, so nurses could check his pupils. But sure, not serious. I did not say any of that. I just waited. Then my dad's voice shifted. Not softer, exactly. More like someone changing tactics. "Listen," he said, "your sister has a situation. The venue she rebooked after the birthday party issue, they're now saying there's a payment discrepancy. Someone needs to call the manager and sort out the gap before end of business today, or they'll cancel the booking entirely. You've dealt with these venues before. We need you to step in and handle it." The ask. I want you to understand what he was asking. I was sitting in a hospital in Brisbane. My son had been in a car accident 48 hours ago. I had not slept properly in 2 days. I had not eaten a real meal. I had not left the building except to move my car. And my dad was calling me to ask me to manage a venue dispute for my sister's next social event. Not the birthday party. That had already happened. This was something else Courtney had booked. Another event, another favor, another thing that needed sorting. I said nothing for a moment. He kept going. "It's just a phone call, some emails. You can do it from there. It won't take long." I looked down the hallway. A nurse pushed a cart past me and glanced up briefly, then kept moving. I said, "Dad, did you see my message on Wednesday night?" "Yes," he said. "I just told you we saw it." "And?" Another pause, longer this time. "Well, you said you were alive. We didn't want to overreact. And Courtney's booking was already in motion. These things don't wait." These things don't wait. I thought about Jayden asking if anyone was coming 3 times, then stopping. I thought about 8 blue ticks and 4 Instagram videos and fairy lights in Garden City. "I can't help with that," I said. His voice tightened immediately. "It's a phone call, Elizabeth. You're just sitting there." "I'm taking care of my son." "So you're just going to let this fall apart?" The question landed like he expected it to flatten me, and maybe 6 months ago it would have. "I think you'll manage," I said. His exhale came through the phone, slow and controlled. "This is not the time to be difficult." I almost said nothing, but something had shifted in me since Wednesday night, and I could feel it holding steady. "This wasn't the time to go silent either," I said quietly. He did not answer that. The compromise that wasn't. After a long pause, he tried a different angle. "Look," he said, "we'll talk about all this later. Just send me the contact, the venue manager, whoever you used last time." And here is the thing. The number was right there in my phone. One tap, 5 seconds. The old version of me would have sent it before he even finished the sentence, added a note explaining the best time to call, probably followed up to make sure it worked. But I was done translating other people's chaos into something manageable for them. "I'll send you the general inquiries line," I said. "They can direct you from there." "That's not helpful," he said immediately. "It's what I can do right now." Silence, then a single word. "Fine." He hung up. Jayden. I stood in that hallway for a moment after the call ended. My hands were steady. My heart was not racing. It did not feel like a fight. It felt like something that had been slightly out of place for years, finally sitting level. When I walked back into the room, Jayden was awake. "Was that them?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. He studied my face for a second. "Are they coming?" I sat down beside him. "Not today," I said. He nodded slowly. "Okay." He did not look at the door. That evening, I sent my dad the general inquiries number for the venue. Nothing else. No offer to follow up. No explanation. Then I put the phone down and did not think about it again. What I did not know yet was that Courtney had been watching all of this very carefully, and she was not done. 3 days after we got home from the hospital, photos went up in the family group chat. Courtney's rescheduled event. New venue, same fairy lights, same smiling faces. Everything looked perfect. And right there in the middle of it, standing next to my parents, was a woman I had never seen before. She was doing my job, the one I had been doing for 15 years, without anyone ever saying thank you. That was the moment I understood what was actually going on. We discharged on Saturday morning. Mason Jenkins from the hospital liaison office stopped by before we left and handed me a folder with every document I needed: follow-up appointment at the GP within 5 days, head injury checklist for the next 2 weeks, contact numbers for the Medicare rebate claim, and the third-party insurance process through the CTP scheme since the other driver had been at fault. He explained it simply. No jargon, just facts. "You will not need to chase anyone for this," he said. "The process is straightforward as long as you keep records. Take photos of everything. Write down dates and times." I thanked him, and he shook Jayden's hand before he left. On the drive home, Jayden fell asleep in the back seat. I kept both hands on the wheel the whole way and took every corner slowly. When we pulled into our street in Sunnybank, he woke up and looked out the window like he was checking it was still there. "Good," he said. "Just good." Then he got out of the car and went straight to the backyard. The group chat comes alive. The family group chat had been silent since my message on Wednesday night. 4 days, nothing. Then on Sunday afternoon, it exploded. Courtney posted 11 photos from the rescheduled event. New venue in Indooroopilly, long tables with white linen, flower arrangements, a grazing board the length of the table, Sienna in a pink dress holding a gift bag, my parents seated at the head of the table looking comfortable and proud. Then the comments started. Kelly, my own mother, wrote, "So beautiful, Court. You pulled it off perfectly." Ryan wrote, "Proud of you, sweetheart. Worth the effort." Juliana wrote, "Best host ever, honestly." Crystal wrote 3 fire emojis and a heart. Alexander wrote, "My wife never misses." 14 comments in 20 minutes. I scrolled through all of them. My name was not mentioned once. In the 7th photo, I noticed her, standing next to my dad, laughing at something off camera. She looked comfortable, like she belonged there. I did not recognize her at first. Then Courtney tagged her. Louis Davis, event coordinator. I put my phone down on the kitchen bench and stood there for a minute. They had hired someone, not to replace a stranger, to replace me, because I had said no once. One time. From a hospital room, with my son recovering in the bed next to me. And rather than wait, rather than ask again, rather than show up, Courtney had gone and found someone else within 72 hours, and my parents had welcomed that person to the table like she had always been there. 15 years of showing up, 15 years of phone calls and bookings and fixing problems nobody else wanted to deal with, 15 years of being the one who sorted it out. Gone in 72 hours. I made Jayden's lunch and sat across from him at the kitchen table. And I thought about that very carefully. At first, it felt like being replaced, like something had been taken. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized it was actually the opposite. They had shown me, clearly and without meaning to, that my role in that family was never about me. It was about the function I performed. The moment I stopped performing it, someone else was found within 3 days. No grief, no gap, just a swap. That meant one thing. They had never actually needed me. They had needed what I did. And I had spent 15 years confusing the two. After lunch, Jayden asked if we could walk to the park. We went slowly. He was still a bit careful on his feet. Not from pain exactly, more like he was recalibrating, checking that everything still worked the way it used to. At one point, he slipped his hand into mine. "Mom?" he said. "Yeah?" "That lady at the hospital, the one with the folder." "Mason," I said. "Well, he works with her team." He nodded. "She was nice." "Yeah, she was." "How come she helped us more than our family did?" I did not have a clean answer for that, so I just squeezed his hand and kept walking. "Some people show up because they care," I said eventually, "and some people only show up when they need something. It takes a while to learn the difference." He thought about that for a few steps. "I think I know which ones are which now," he said. So did I. I had said nothing publicly. No posts, no replies in the group chat, no confrontation. But Courtney knew I had seen everything. She always knew. So when she messaged me privately that night, I was not surprised. What surprised me was what she said, and what she was about to ask me to do. Courtney messaged me at 9:30 on a Sunday night. Not in the group chat, privately. And she opened with 3 words that told me everything I needed to know about how she saw me. "I need you." Not, "How are you?" Not, "Sorry I missed your calls," or "Sorry nobody came." Just, "I need you." Here is what she said. She had booked a second event, a charity fundraiser lunch she was co-hosting with a woman named Crystal Little from her social circle. The venue in Indo-Pili had already invoiced her, but the invoice had an error, a double charge on the catering deposit, and the venue manager was not responding to her emails. The event was in 11 days. She needed me to call the venue, identify the error, negotiate the correction, and confirm the final amount in writing. She had done this exact thing to me at least 6 times over the past 4 years, and every single time I had fixed it, quietly, quickly, without being asked twice. At the bottom of the message, she wrote, "You're so much better at this stuff than me. You always know what to say." I read it twice. Then I screenshotted it. I did not reply that night. In the morning, I called the venue myself, not to fix it for Courtney, to ask one simple question. Was there actually a double charge? The woman on the phone, calm, professional, pulled up the booking. No double charge, she said. The invoice was correct. The second amount was a non-refundable holding fee Courtney had agreed to at the time of booking. It was in the contract she signed. I thanked her and hung up. So there was no error. Courtney just did not want to pay what she had already agreed to pay, and she wanted me to call on her behalf and pressure them into removing it. I had done that before, too. I just had not known it at the time. I messaged Courtney back that afternoon. Hi, I looked into it. There's no billing error. The second charge is the holding fee you agreed to when you signed the contract. It's non-refundable. The venue is correct. She replied in 4 minutes. That can't be right. Can you just call them again? I put my phone face down. I did not call again. An hour later, my mother, Kelly, called, and the conversation that followed was the one that finally made me decide no more fixing, no more filling gaps. It was time to let everything fall exactly where it was supposed to. My mother called to tell me I was being selfish. That was the word she used. Selfish. I was standing in my kitchen making Jayden's dinner when she said it, and for the first time in my life, I did not rush to defend myself. I just let her finish. She had clearly spoken to Courtney first. The story had already been shaped by the time it reached me. Elizabeth won't help. Elizabeth is being difficult. Elizabeth is punishing the family over nothing. My mother's version was softer, but the message was the same. You're making this harder than it needs to be, she said. Courtney is stressed. The event is for charity. All she needed was one phone call. I said, Mom, did Courtney tell you there was no billing error? A pause. What do you mean? I checked with the venue myself, I said. The charge is correct. It's in the contract Courtney signed. There was nothing to fix. Silence. Then, well, she probably just misread it. Probably, I said. So you could have just called and confirmed that for her. I could have, I said, but she's an adult. She can call herself. My mother's tone shifted, the way it always did when the soft approach stopped working. You've changed, she said, and not in a good way. I stirred Jayden's pasta. Maybe, I said. After I hung up, I stood at the stove for a long time. Here is what I had finally understood. I was not the problem. I was the solution they had always taken for granted, and the moment I stopped being useful, suddenly I had a bad attitude. Suddenly I was selfish. Suddenly I had changed. But I had not changed. I had just stopped pretending. There is a difference between family and people you grew up with. Not everyone who shares your blood shows up when it counts. And if the only time people call is when they need something, that is not a relationship. That is a roster. I had been on their roster for 15 years. I quietly took myself off it. Jayden healed fast the way kids do. 2 weeks after the accident, we walked to Karawatha Forest on a Saturday morning. He ran ahead on the path, then doubled back to find me. At one point, he grabbed my hand without saying anything. Then he looked up. Mom, next time something goes wrong, we'll be okay, right? I squeezed his hand. Yeah, I said, we will. And I meant it, not because anyone was coming to help us, but because I had finally stopped waiting for people who never would. The group chat is still on my phone. I have not muted it. I just stopped building my life around the silence in it. If someone only calls when they need you, that is your answer. You do not need to announce your exit. You do not need a confrontation. You do not need them to understand. You just need to stop showing up for people who never showed up for you. That is not selfish. That is self-respect.